Maserati is a brand forged on motor racing, and in recent years the Italian car maker has channelled that history, namely with its GranTurismo Coupe, and in particular the track-focused MC Stradale. However, not everyone wants a hard-edge race car for the road, so for those people Maserati has introduced this. It's called the GranTurismo Trofeo, and it's unique to Australia and New Zealand. So, can it mix the best of both worlds? Let's find out. On the surface, it seems there is not all that much that is soft about the latest Maserati. In a performance car world, everything makes sense about the Trofeo, except for perhaps its name, but we'll get to that a bit later. The new model is powered by the same Ferrari-derived 4.7 litre V8 that is found in the MC Stradale, and it sounds amazing. It also gets powerful Brembo brakes, a limited slip differential and lashings of carbon fibre in a package that looks and feels well suited to the racetrack, but proves equally capable out on the road. There's no doubting that the Trofeo is a thoroughbred sports car, but I have to say the initial impression behind the wheel is that it is quite an impressive and pleasant touring machine. You've got excellent vision out the front, big mirrors and also quite a big rear window for its coupe-like shape, so that's fairly impressive. The other thing is that in the normal comfort mode, the engine doesn't really feel highly strung in any way. It's easy to take off, the gear changes aren't lurchy, there's no hesitation. It would be a car that you could easily come to terms with, as a daily driver and to drive in traffic and all that sort of stuff. But being a Maserati, the real heart and soul of this thing comes to the fore when you press a sport button on the dashboard there. Suddenly spices up that teaming between the engine and the transmission. Everything becomes a little bit sharper and you can really start to exploit some of the handling characteristics of this machine. Once you do open up the 4.7 litre V8 engine, it is a marvellous unit. It doesn't pack a punch like Maserati's 4 litre twin turbocharged unit, but it has quite long legs for a V8 engine and really pulls, especially once you get into that mid-range sort of level, about 3,000 RPM. Officially, the V8 engine produces 338 kilowatts and 520 newton meters. It will sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in a claimed 4.8 seconds and onwards to a top speed of 298 kilometers an hour. Part of the Maserati's road compliance stems from adaptive dampers that aren't found on the racier MC Stradale. They take the initial edge out of bumps without compromising body control. The other crucial difference between the two cars is the Stradale's carbon ceramic brakes, transaxle layout and 120 kilos worth of weight savings, something that becomes evident on the racetrack. That's not to say that this thing isn't still a performance car in its own right. The carbon fibre bucket seats that I'm sitting in at the moment are one way of pointing that out. Stick the gearbox into its sportiest setting and the car basically comes alive. It's quite keen to work closely with that 4.7 litre engine. You get lovely blips on the downshifts and it becomes a lot more aggressive than what it is in its basic setting. You also get that glorious note from the bimodal exhaust. It sounds terrific. Now the engine in this car obviously comes from the Ferrari 430, but its capacity has been opened up to 4.7 litres. And it's actually quite a nice engine on the track and on the road. Nice linear power delivery, but in its sportier setting, when you want to peak it up a bit, it becomes a little bit more aggressive and really comes to life. Elsewhere, the dynamics of this car are quite easy to come to terms with. It's got nice, accurate steering that's pretty responsive to driver input. The Trofeo is quite a seamless car on a racetrack. With a little bit of reverence with the throttle, it's not a car that steps out or squirms out of corners. Just if you treat it with some respect, it kind of rewards with pace and grace. It's a car that you can really build your confidence up in quickly. I've only done a handful of laps in it now and straight away I feel a lot more comfortable with it than what I did to start with. It's got a nice balance between the front and rear wheels, and it sits quite flat and poised in corners when you want it to. Tipping the scales at about 1,850 kilos, the Maserati isn't as willing as its rivals when asked to perform quick changes in direction, nor is it quite as communicative through corners. The favourable trade-off though is a large and cosseting cabin that will easily accommodate 4 adult passengers, even if its dated styling hardly lives up to the exorbitant price tag. So does the GranTurismo Trofeo adequately mix on-track performance with touring comfort? Well, we'd have to say yes. However, at $300,000, this thing finds itself in some pretty elite company. If you've got that sort of money to spend though, that's probably a good problem to have. The Trofeo's name suggests it is the performance pedigree of the GranTurismo range, but in a little twist of fate, Maserati in Italy ordered an 11th hour name change for the road-friendly sports car. So from this point it will be known as the MC Sportline, which is arguably a more fitting tag for what is a well-rounded sports machine.